And he has a podcast that is similar to ours, but with cassette tapes. It's called Lost and Rewound.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, so you guys should look it up and subscribe to it. But let's get him up here.
Please welcome to the stage, Elon Danziger.
Awesome. Thank you to Nissa and Angel for having me here. I gotta preface to say that, in fact, it's kind of crazy to be here doing this because the majority of documentation of my childhood is with audio. I do have video for sure, but if I could choose one of the mediums of the two that sincerely is quite abundant, it's audio. So this really, I think, was encouraged. My parents, from when I was a very young age, they were very much encouraging me to talk as much as possible. So that really set the bar for how I am now, because I already talk way too much as an adult. And when I was a kid, that's where it all began. So I had a safe place with a tape recorder, of which they got for me, and tapes upon tapes recording myself. This saw itself as when I was like 11 years old in 5th grade, when I started really like bringing the tape recorder with me into school, and I had a bunch of these tapes, and they all became this recording series called the Danziger Zone, of which essentially began my podcast, the Lost and Rewound podcast. But it's all based on these recordings. I've recorded like 50 tapes throughout the years 1993 and 1996. So I've got all these tapes, and it all began, when I was in 5th grade, and in 6th grade, I guess, as a sort of a way to lend itself to the way that I was really into the whole radio comedy thing. My parents, for, I guess it was either Hanukkah or my birthday, I can't remember which one, because they're both in December, so kind of all mishmash in between. They got me this like box of comedy tapes. So it was like 4 tapes in there, and it was Jack Benny, Groucho Marx, You Bet Your Life with Groucho Marx, and then it was George Burns, Gracie Allen, and then there was Spike Jones and the City Slickers. So the thing is that all these tapes, other than the Spike Jones tape, were all like, one episode per side of the show. And the difference with the Spike Jones was that, like, any good album, it's a compilation. So that was a big difference. And so for me, I'm into music. I'm like, oh, okay. I gravitated more towards the music versus that of the talking. Those tapes are great, and they held up obviously very well. It's all timeless, the classic comedy of the 40s. Spike Jones was kind of like, he was a band leader that created this music of what we would probably equate now to that of like a Dr. Demento or like a Weird Al. Spoofing popular music at the time and turning it over on its head, creating just this wacky sound. So I was like super into that. I was really into that. Me, like 11, 12 years old, being into this crazy old time comedy that's using weird sound effects for a comedic effect. And I really gravitated towards this one song specifically called Cocktails for Two. It would come to pass that I would perform this song for the lip sync in 6th grade. A little backtrack about Elon Danziger in 6th grade. He is about 4'11". He is about 75 pounds. He has parted hair. He wears sweatpants. He may be not wearing sneakers. He's probably wearing some slip-on shoes. So his sense of style is not great. And to boot, he's carrying a handheld tape recorder with him everywhere he goes in school. So kids really just know me for that. And I'm not that athletic. I'm not swinging the bat really hard or kicking the ball at recess very hard. And I'm also not athletic. And I'm certainly not even that nerdy either. Like a lot of my friends who were just as proficient in the athletic department were also very, very proficient at their video games, which I was semi-proficient at, but especially like Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons. Nah, I wasn't having any of that. I didn't get it. Like I was somewhere like in that really awkward middle place where I was just as much of a dork as I was supposed to be without really being cool with the nerds or the jocks, so to speak. So this is where it comes to pass that I am most comfortable as an acting kid. I am a theater kid. I've been doing it since I'm 6 years old. That's my thing. I take it with me. I go to school every day. Not many people that I went to school with were in the acting program with me. And I grew up in Woodstock, New York, upstate. And there was a theater group called Woodstock Youth Theater, of which I performed all these shows at. But none of the kids in my school were doing it. None of them. Everybody who was in my school was pretty much not involved in it, except for maybe one kid. So this was like my chance to finally say, okay, I'm going to do the lip sync. I'm going to show everybody that I have more that I'm doing with my life than just sticking a tape recorder in their face. And it was great. I have a small audio clip of when I went to audition. You want to cue that up, Angel? And this was me the day that I was auditioning. I think the first round of auditions we did, and then this was the second round of auditions.
We're in school. And we're about to do the lip sync. Because I'm not a lip sync, and so is Ian, and so is most of them, and so is James. Weird, huh? Yeah, I know. This is awesome. We're going to do the lip sync. Not together, but we're doing like, I'm doing cocktails for two. I'm not doing that, right? Alright, Alright. I'm going to turn this off now.
This is basically what I did for 3 years.
Stop. Let's dance to zone. You won't believe what just happened in school today. Guess what? You won't believe this. I got in the lip sync with all the other lip sync participants. There's a four participant tie. Isn't it awesome? Cool, man. Yeah, I'm wearing cocktails for two. Isn't that pretty cool? Yeah. There we go. Alright, now, how do I turn this off? But this has been
So to preface it, just to elaborate on that, every year when the lip sync happened, it would be 2 acts per grade. But this was very unique because 4 acts. So it was like there's 2 girls who did dentist from Little Shop of Horrors. Then there was this guy James who was like, picture like the actual nerd that you remember from your childhood, and he was like, it was his second year doing the lip sync, and he did this song called "Don't Make Me Go to School" by Tom Chapin. Ian, who you heard there in the clip with me, he did Cupid Pete from The Mask, with Jim Carrey made famous, and then that was a really great performance. And then mine, I just happened to do some random band leader's zany off-the-wall song about drinking. So, and you know, we have to make this like appropriate for the school. It has to be within a reasonable amount of time so that you're not going over. And what do? I went all out. My mom, let's play the clip actually. So, well, I'm talking too long. We can show a little bit and I'll explain. But as you can see here, I went all out. And you can see here, I'm wearing what essentially is my dad's wardrobe. I don't know exactly what, but I guess I just threw some clothes together. There's a hat that my mom made, and you know, my mom actually drew a beard on me, which was pretty amusing. That's the first time I ever had a beard. The cane and the pop-out top hat that you're about to see in a short second, those were handed down from my late grandfather, my mom's dad. And actually, I think these props really helped spearhead where I was going with the vision for the performance. The vision being that I'm some bum on the street, and there's my stupid hair, and I decided I was going to play a bum looking for food, and then I just stumbled upon a dining room set, basically. A dining room set, like a cocktail hour set. Those were beer bottles that I found in the recycling bin. There's a candlestick, a vase and some old weeds, and the table, the fold-out table. And yeah, and so here I am, and I'm like trying to make a toast to something, but I don't know what I'm toasting to. And then I hear these voices. Fantastic camera work. So, I mean, looking back at this, I mean, I'm not sure if I'm really embarrassed by it because this is like one of those moments that I realized, like, this is how I roll. Like, I write my own script. I, like, I roll the beat on my own drum constantly. I do that as an adult, even to this day. My wife thinks I'm insane, and she just looks at this kind of video, and I show this to her. She's like, "You are such a weird kid." And I am a weird adult. I feel like I'm still a weird kid now. But this was my coming out party as an actor to essentially an entire group of people that didn't know how much of a performer I was. And I kind of lost that momentum because after this year I started an entirely new school that wasn't connected with the elementary school. I was going to a private school an hour away in a neighboring county. So I basically had to start all over again and reinvent myself in another school. And I was just hoping that I could at least take away and make a better impression about who I was as a person, as a performer, as an individual. But you're 12. You're not going to really succeed in that. Kids are still going to be mean. And so I didn't really go out on the best terms because of some social things. Like, I got a kid in trouble, and then like everyone was like, "You were stupid." But that was well after this whole thing happened. So this was kind of like the last, I think, or first experience of doing something that was on record that I choreographed. And there's actually one little last clip, I think, of some critique or some, I don't know, compliment maybe, I hope. We'll see. I'm just stupid leaving.
Don't tell a lie, but he sucked in the lipstick.
What he said.
That's it, thanks.